Shalom, shalom, Akim, and welcome to GMS Gallows in the Streets. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, whom I worship. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who taught me this word in sincerity and in truth and who rule well and are still out there on the highways and byways pushing this word even to the very end. And salutations to all the Akim who are doing the same thing all throughout the earth. I'm Mother Sakaran, and once again, coming with some prophecy. Saw an article on RT that caught my attention as always, and just wanted to go into it because we are living in the days of the toes of the of that image, Nebuchadnezzar's image and dream that he had, and it spoke about all the ruling kingdoms, or the top ruling kingdoms, significant kingdoms, okay, that ruled, especially that had rule over us, over our people, over the nation of Israel, all right, and that we served slavery under, and that controlled the ancient known world back then. Within that prophecy also is the EU, NATO, and well, mainly NATO, right? Which a lot of NATO, EU, the EU nations that are a part of NATO. NATO is the beast, Well, NATO is comprised of, NATO's the beast. NATO is comprised of the majority of those European nations, and America is the harlot that sits on the beast, all right, telling the beast what to do. All right, pulling the reins of the beast, so to speak, until they turn against her and destroy her with fire. That's what's going to happen. That's according to prophecy. So I'm going to go ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the article, and I'm going to go into the scripture, go into the prophecy. Like I always say, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you'll be alerted when I go live or when I upload videos. So let's get into it. So I saw this article just a little while ago on RT, and and the title of it is EU's largest economic EU's largest economy, Germany. Okay, and this is part of the iron. When you read Daniel's second chapter from the 35th, 36th verse on down, you'll read about the feet and the toes that were part iron and partly mixed with clay, with the potter's clay that was going into the EU nations, all right, which originally they were 10 of them, all right. They were headquartered in Brussels, Belgium. Let me get the exact info for you. Give me a second. Okay, so they call them, they're known as the European Union today, but the original name was the European Economic Community. Today they're known as the European Union or just the Union. And I'm just gonna read into it to let you know exactly when they came about and all that. When they were first, the headquarters was first erected in Brussels, Belgium, which they designed it in the shape of a broken cross. So just to show you that they're against Yahweh Shai, they're against they're anti-Messiah. They're against they know that they're the children of Satan. They know that they, their whole confederacy is nothing to do with the Most High. Okay. Um, and they are all Edomites, man. Okay, children of the devil. And it says the European Economic Community, right? Uh, it says the European Economic Community, the EEC, was a regional organization that aimed to bring about economic integration among its member states, right? And every one of every person and all these peoples they are down with this community. They're all Edomites, or i.e. Caucasian, so-called white people, man. Okay, they have nothing to do with the dark nations. Okay, white supremacy is a community of white supremacy, just so that you can understand. Okay, and it says the European Economic Community was a regional organization that aimed to bring about economic integration among its member states. It was created by the Treaty of Rome, showing you that this is uh, um, Rome, coming back again, as the European Economic Community, coming back as, America, NATO. All right, it was created by the Treaty of Rome of 1957. Upon the formation of the European Union, the EU, in 1993, the EEC was incorporated and renamed the European Community. In 2009, the European Community's institutions were absorbed into the EU's wider framework, and the community ceased to exist. The community did not cease to exist; it still exists. When they, like I said, when they first erected their headquarters in Brussels, Belgium, they designed it in the shape of a broken cross, and you could look that up, Google that. Um, and in front of it were 10 flagpoles set up, representing the 10 original member nations. Now, at first, I think it was like only 6 member nations that had signed up, but they had put up 10 flagpoles, and that fulfilled that prophecy of the the toes of the image, and also the 10 horns that were upon the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay, so give me a second. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, they only show 8 there, but it's really 10. All right. So anyway, let me go back to the article. So the title of the article is EU's largest economy, which is Germany. They represent the iron. Okay, the strength. Iron represents strength. that's how Rome was able to conquer the world back then, by way of the strength of the iron. Their weapons were made of iron. They were strong, as their military was strong. Um, and they conquered the known world back then. It says EU's largest economy, Germany, is now its major underperformer, Credit Suisse. So, in other words, they're losing their economic power, so to speak. All right. It says London-based economists at the investment banking company Credit Suisse have named Germany a major underperformer of the European bloc of countries, citing a significant decrease in the nation's GDP and purchasing power. The ongoing trade slump remains challenging for the German economy. Once the major outperformer of the euro area economy, Germany is now the major underperformer. Its huge trade imbalance a huge burden, the experts stated, as cited by Fox Business. This valuation was issued after Credit Suisse economists reviewed the latest economic indicators. For instance, they note that the German economy grew at mere 0.4% year over year from April through June, its weakest indicators in over 6 years. They also noted The country's economy showed a 0.1% quarter over quarter decrease, which signified Germany was Europe's only major economy to shrink in the past several months. However, according to Credit Suisse economists, German hardships would not affect other European states as Germany has a huge current account surplus, around $276 billion dollars. It is the largest account surplus globally. So this is definitely the iron, you know, part of the iron feet and toes that were part iron, okay, meaning strength when it comes to their economy. The other nations that would be like clay or mixed with clay would be like Greece and those other European nations that are weak economically. Okay, it says it is the largest account surplus globally, formed by large export volumes and lower imports due to small domestic demand. Credit Suisse also expects the European Central Bank to help ease the situation in case other economies in the region start struggling, for instance, by further lowering rates. See, we're living in the days when Yahweh Shai is going to come and destroy these nations anyway. All right, grab the crowns of these kings. You know, talking about the kings of the ten horn. You know, of these nations here, of the EU nations or member states. It says resumption of asset purchases and new long-term refinancing operations by ECB should be supportive of domestic demand outside Germany, the economists noted. They cited the situation in Italy as an example. For example, that shift in policy led to a huge fall in Italian government bond yields that more than reversed the financial tightening of last year that contributed materially to Italy's slowdown. The economists explained as a remedy to the current sluggishness in the German economy, said Swiss offered two measures: an end to the trade war between the U.S. and China, and sorry, that's just gonna get worse. You know, that's why you got the Russians, you got the Chinese, and you got other nations that are joining with Russia to create their own economy, their own system. You know, they no longer want U.S. GDP or they don't want the dollar, okay, as a reserve currency, all right, because they know that it's a debt bearing currency that's going to lead them into trouble, all right. So they don't want that. They're creating their own thing. They're creating their own unions, or they want to create their own union with Russia at the head, at the top. And it says, as a remedy to the current sluggishness in the German economy, Credit Suisse offered two measures: an end to the trade war between the U.S. and China, or an introduction of a German fiscal stimulus. Although the latter is unlikely, as Germany is too keen on sustaining a balanced budget. Also, the latest move by the World Trade Organization could further shatter Germany's economy. Earlier this week, the World Trade Organization ruled that Washington may impose economic sanctions on the EU states after it became known that U.S. plane manufacturer Boeing had lost some 7.5 billion a year due to subsidies handed out by European governments to its arch competitor, Europe's own Airbus. Although, and in the prophecy also, when you go to Revelation the 17th chapter, it explains that these 10 kings, which is associated with the EU, the European Union, they're gonna burn. They shall hate the whore, it says, which is America, and shall burn her with fire. All right, that's soon to come. We're living in those days, and the way that the fire is gonna come is by way of thermonuclear missiles, which all these nations are getting ready for. They know this is the time of war and that we're heading towards the last war. They know the prophecy, and plus they're listening to us. They're watching our shows and they're listening to us because they know that we are the prophets of the Heavenly Father. They already know that we are the Israelites. They've been knowing that. All right. But they didn't want to let us know, right? They suffered not our dead bodies to be put in graves, man. So they wanted to keep us dead, keep us, uh, uh, um, in purgatory, in a purgatory state of mind, so to speak, man, while they continue with their kingdoms, right? But the time has come now that the Lord woke us up, and now we're getting right with the Lord. And whenever Israel was right with the Lord, there was nothing that the nations could do to Israel, man, do to us. So it says, although the European aircraft manufacturer filed a similar complaint against the U.S. Boeing, Washington had already come through with tariffs targeting, among other things, a number of German products. The tariffs will come into effect on October 18 and will make German goods like wine and coffee more expensive, setting a new hurdle in front of Germany's already weakened economy. So we're living in the end of, because a nation, like I always say, a nation is only as strong as its economy, man. So we're living in these days, man, in the days of these kings, in the days when our Lord Yahweh Shai is gonna come to hit Nebuchadnezzar's Gentile image at its feet, and the feet represents the end of all these kingdoms, which is the the European Union, NATO, America, all right, and throw the so-called state of Israel in there too, because America is only a satellite of Israel. So I'm gonna go and get the scriptures, man. Let's read the book of Daniel, the second chapter, and we can start at the 36th verse. And it says, "This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the Most High power of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power and strength and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold," talking about Nebuchadnezzar, right? Verse 39, "And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth." That's talking about the Medo-Persian Empire. All right. And then it was the Persians who conquered the Medes, so it was mainly the Persians in power. And it says, "And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron, give me 1 second, because I skipped something here. Okay. Right, the kingdom, give me a second. Right, the gold is Nebuchadnezzar, and they had the as you read above, I believe it was give me 1 second. Yeah, just bear with me for a second. Feels like I left something out here. Yeah, because you had the gold, you had the silver, then the brass, then the iron, and that represented the you had the Babylonians, then the Medo-Persian Empire, and then the Greeks, and then the Roman Empire, which is the fourth kingdom. Okay. Give me 1 second. Yeah. So let's go. Let's see. It says the image's head was the 32nd verse, right? It says the image's head was of fine gold. That was talking about the Babylonians, right, ruled by Nebuchadnezzar. His breasts and his arms of silver, right? That's the point. That was talking about the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay, it says his belly and thighs of brass. That's the Greeks. Okay, first over the Greeks was Alexander the so-called Great. Okay, which they were Edomites. His legs of iron and his feet part of iron and part of clay. So the legs of iron was talking about the fourth kingdom, which is the Roman Empire. And iron was stronger than the brass, stronger than the silver, stronger than the gold. All right. Um, and it says, and his feet part of iron and part of clay. That was going into the revival of the Roman Empire, which is in today's time. The European Union member nations and the member nations they are a part of NATO. You know. So it says, thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces. Right. So it says the stone that was cut without hands is talking about Yahushua, when he comes with the thousands and thousands and upon thousands of his saints and angels to destroy this man. All right, to destroy this man and his whole system of rulership, to start his rulership. All right, which is also known as the kingdom of heaven, with his people ruling with him. Well, mainly the elect of the nation of Israel ruling with him. Verse 35, it says, then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together. We're living in those days now, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image, which is Yahushua, that great millstone, became a great mountain, right? Became a great government. All right, this government is going to rule forever. All right, the Israelite government, with Yahushua, the one that the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. All right, our Messiah, Yahushua, is going to rule forever, and we with him. All right, those of us that endure unto the end, and fill the whole earth. So we're going to control the whole earth and become big, great. All right, it's going to be millions of us, millions of Israelites controlling the earth, so much that we're going to have to go to the other planets as well. All right, it says, this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. And need I say that the king's Chaldeans and his Magi's and his so-called wise men, they weren't able to tell him the dream, because the Most High wasn't dealing with him. So at the end of it all, the prophets of Israel, all right, they were always the top out of all kings and out of all the nations. The prophets, the Most High always revealed everything to the prophets, just like he's doing now. All right, that's why we're out there in the highways and byways, and we're telling about this man's downfall according to prophecy. It's not even our word; it's the Lord's word. We're just bringing it out, but they hate us for it, man. And the prophets were always hated. They were always hated. They were always attacked. They were always killed. Because they came with truth, man, and the word of the Lord. Right? It says, "Thou, O King, art a King of kings. For the power of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power and strength and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold," and that's Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians. "And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom." Right, the Medes and the Persians came, and then a third kingdom, which were the Greeks, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, which is the Roman Empire. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And we're living in the continuation of the Roman Empire, because when you go to Revelation the 13th chapter, it said that this beast was wounded as it were unto death, but and then it lived again. It came back again as who? As the EU nations, as NATO, and with America being at the spearhead of all that. Okay, it says, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes part of potter's clay and part of iron, meaning partly strong and partly weak. And Germany is one of the strong ones, but now they're becoming weak. Okay, so at the end is they're all becoming like part iron and part clay, and then Yahweh Shai is gonna come and destroy them all. We're living in those days, and that's why you keep on seeing sightings of chariots and UFOs, all right, or unidentifiable aerial phenomenon, as they're calling them, right? UAPs, and they're showing us themselves more because we're approaching the last days, when they're really going to show themselves all over the earth, all right, to deliver the children of Israel, the chosen, and to destroy these nations, man, and especially to destroy Babylon the Great. It says, and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, meaning some certain nations that are part of the EU, they're economically they're strong, all right, and then some economically are weak. It says, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And the apostles brought this out. They keep on bringing this out, which makes a lot of sense. That's going into these EU member nations, how they're having a problem with migrants, coming into their land, coming into their countries, and damn near taking over. And then they're mingling themselves, or they're getting married with them, having children. It's making it hard for them to be as one, as just Europeans, so they're becoming mingled, and it's making things hard for them, and that's causing a rift in their economy as well. And it says, and in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. That's our kingdom, brothers. All right, and you few believing sisters out there, we're living in these days. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, right? Meaning no other nation is going to come again to destroy us, never again, and to put us in slavery, man. That's it. This is the last go around. It says, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So that's what the kingdom is all about, man. Us ruling forever with our Lord Yahweh Shai. Right? It says, for as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, that's Yahweh Shai, and that it break in pieces the iron and the brass, the clay, the silver and the gold, the great power hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. So this is definitely is gonna happen, and it's in the works as we now speak. Okay, so we're living in these great days of prophecy, and we just have to stay strong, man. Constantly pray, constantly pray to the Lord to keep us strong and to make our faith strong every day. And brothers have to keep on watching. Like I said, there's a website called the Economic Times. If you want to know about what's going on with the economies of the world, there's different websites you could go to find out about that. And just stay focused, and stay watching, and with that, I'm gonna sign off. And like I always say, subscribe and hit that notification button. So I'm gonna sign off. Shalom. Hopefully this was edifying, and low will into the next one. Shalom.